Welcome,
Yes.
Ibinye.
Thank you so much for having me back, Marvel.
Thank you so much for coming back. So today we're going to discuss, as I introduced earlier, the highly functioning person. Ibinye, please tell me in your own expertise and experience and clinical observations, who would you say is a highly functioning person?
So, in my practice, I
Yeah.
like to call them the super responsible member of the family. That's how I like to describe
Oh,
them. So, the one
oh,
person that everybody can turn to, whether at
oh,
work, even at home,
oh,
because it bleeds from the home to the workplace to friendships. The one
oh,
person everybody calls when they need help, the
oh,
one person who organizes everything. She is like the center of
oh,
everybody's world. She takes care of
oh,
everyone even before taking care of her own self. So that is how I would
oh.
describe the high functioning person.
Interesting. Wow. The go-to person who seems to be able to focus on what other people's needs are and helping them
Yes.
meet it, most likely would be prioritizing their own needs last.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes they don't even know that they have needs.
Oh dear. Wow. So what I'm imagining the highly functioning person would probably be, is it when they have really just burnt off or shut down, then they are now forced to confront their own needs, emotional needs in particular?
Yes, so they get to a point where they're feeling completely overwhelmed. The burden on their shoulders is too heavy. They have too many responsibilities that they have allowed on their
Oh,
plate. They have not
mm,
set strong enough boundaries. They know that
mm,
everybody is counting on them, but they
mm,
look at their schedule and they say, I don't have enough hours in my day. How do I handle this? And then a lot
mm,
of times, maybe anxiety starts to creep in,
mhm,
but being that this is their identity now, they
mhm,
don't know how to renegotiate their boundaries. And that's when
mm,
they now decide, I think I need help. I'm overwhelmed.
mm. Well, thank you for providing that insight. I love that you mentioned boundaries. And I loved that you mentioned overwhelmed. These are trigger words that I'm hearing from your end. And from the little I read up about highly functioning people, is they feel guilty for saying no, and which is
Yes.
closely linked with people pleasing. Can you speak a bit about that, boundaries and the false guilt when highly
Yes.
functioning people say no?
Oh, highly sensitive people are always swimming in guilt
Uh-huh.
because they know they have the ability to help. So I think
Uh-huh.
that's a lot of times where the guilt comes from is I know I can help you, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at my schedule and I just don't have any room on my schedule. I'm looking within
Uh-huh.
and I'm feeling so overwhelmed,
Uh-huh.
but I feel bad because I don't know if you can help yourself. So they
Uh-huh.
also have this thoughts, if I don't help other people, then other people will crumble, especially within a family dynamic. A lot of times they have been raised, a lot of times we'll see it in maybe the firstborn girl.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't matter if she has an older brother or not. A lot of times, the responsibility of taking care of the household will be
Uh-huh.
upon the oldest girl.
Yeah.
Um, and because you've been relied on so heavily for years, other
Yeah.
people learn how to cross their legs and sit down and relax, and you're always the one standing up, getting things done.
Yeah.
So when you say no, if you dare say no,
Uh-huh.
sometimes the family rebels and they say, you're being very selfish because it's your role to take care of your younger ones. Or if you
Mm.
don't help us, then who's going to help us? But then the
Mm.
family forgets that they also have two hands and they're actually able to help themselves.
Mm.
But when you're high functioning, you say, well, I've lived this way all of my life. I'm
Yeah.
able to do it. You actually forget that your family is capable.
Uh-huh. Oh, there's a lot of cultural trigger words I hear from you saying things about birth positioning, firstborn
Yes.
girl, perhaps firstborn boy as well, the cultural
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities that have been woven into our narratives that has
Yes.
conditions particularly people in the firstborn birth positions, to be
Yes.
saddled with this huge responsibility that when they say no, they could be punished. so,
Yes. Absolutely.
so they tend to kind of probably just take on a lot and lock up their own feelings.
Yes.
And sometimes it's hard for other members of the family to read their emotions as well, and they may not share their struggles. Can you talk to this cultural expectation we have? I think for people that are from culturally diverse backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
um, we are African, West
Mm-hmm.
African, from our cultural
Yes.
backgrounds. Can we, begin from there? And then I believe
Okay.
also with other cultures.
Okay. So usually when somebody is the firstborn in the birth order,
Yeah.
it's typically their responsibility to take care of the ones who are younger than they are. And it starts
Mm,
from a very young age. And
mm,
then as they reach adulthood, it's not
mm,
just, okay, make sure you hold your brother's hand or make sure you cook for the family. It also
mm,
becomes financial. It
mhm,
also becomes problem solving. It also
mm,
becomes conflict resolution. It becomes
mm,
sometimes even housing, food, clothing,
mm,
meeting the basic needs. And a lot of
mm.
times, the person who is in this high functioning, usually firstborn position,
Yeah.
nobody really checks in on them to see if they're okay. They
Mm,
are the ones who are checking in on the parents, they're checking
mm,
in on siblings. They often will even check on extended family members. So I
yeah.
like to say that families have a dance, and that's what
Mm,
their own dance looks like. You
mm,
take care of all of us,
mm,
and I'm guessing you're responsible enough to make sure that you take care of your own needs. Now, it's not
mm,
like these families are actively trying to be mean or they
mm,
don't care about this person. They care,
mm,
but when you have somebody who is so responsible,
mm,
responsible people learn how to put their needs on the back burner. So they typically you look fine. When you ask them,
mm,
how are you doing? Which again, it's very rare that anybody is even checking in on them. They'll just say
mm,
fine because
mm,
they're thinking, my needs are not as important as yours. So if
mm,
I tell you I'm not doing fine, you might worry about me. And
mhm,
I don't want to do that. That's not the natural order. I'm the one
mm,
who's supposed to be worrying about you. But
mm,
on the other hand, these high functioning people at night, when they lay their head on the bed, there's a little bit of resentment because
mm,
you know that your shoulders are heavier than the shoulders of the people around you. You
mm.
have an inclination that the people around you are capable, but
Yeah.
you've also trained them to rely on you. You've also trained
Mhm,
them to solve, for you to solve all their problems. And let's
mhm.
be honest, if somebody solved all your problems, you begin to lose your own problem solving skills, learned
Sure.
helplessness.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. And as you're just speaking, I'm just having images of big uncles, big aunties
Yes,
who never really shared how they felt. And even when I remember checking in one of my big uncle who does so well, it's always deflated. I'm good.
yes,
How about you?
yes,
And
yes,
you just find that I called to check in on you and to know I'm doing well, I'm fine. How about you? How about your husband? How about your
right.
kids? And I'm like,
Yes,
the
yes,
conversation is turning around again. So it's such a cultural conditioning for that I believe shaped the high functioning person.
absolutely.
Yeah, I had a lady tell me that she was applauded and rewarded whenever she takes on added responsibilities
Yes,
by, family members. That seems to be when she's validated in the family space. And then when she contemplates reducing what is on her plate, she worries about how her family will respond to that.
yes,
So she
absolutely.
withdraws. She withdraws from them for a while.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I have had the opportunity to speak with some friends that are from other cultures as well, such as the Asian culture, and I
Mm-hmm.
found that we tend to have such similarities as well, kind of
Yes.
driven to, get qualifications, you know, get good paying jobs, own properties. And then there's this endless drive that doesn't allow us to slow down and really
Mm.
ask ourselves, what really are my values? What are the legacies I would like to leave? Because
Mm.
sometimes I feel that we're stuck in what cultural expectations are. And the times
Yes.
have changed and culture has evolved. But then the
Mm-hmm.
things that drive us have not changed. We're still
Right.
stuck in that space where we're not asking, confronting the question, why am I doing this? What's the
Mm.
end? Particularly when things are really evolving. Talk about AI introduced, and the whole thing is just, let's not go there. AI has just crushed a lot of routines. And I'm hearing lots of high functioning people go like, what am I going to be doing now?
Yes. Yes.
How am I going to do that? Because a lot of time is now going to be saved if one is implementing the AI. Anyway,
Yes.
let's not go into that. But talk about poor sleeping and sleep problems. I know this is really your space. Talk about that
Yes.
and high
Yes.
functioning.
Well, if you think about the high functioning person, they
Yeah.
put their needs last. That
Oh,
includes their physical needs, right?
yeah.
The main goal of a high functioning person is I have this list of
Yeah.
tasks, I
Yeah.
have this list of projects, I have this list of achievements I need to be completing, and I
Oh,
need to do whatever it takes to check them off. It's as
oh,
simple as that. So whether
oh.
it means I'm not going to be eating well, whether it means I'm going to lose 2 to 3 hours of sleep, whatever it takes,
Yeah.
I need to do it. Because remember, when you're high functioning, it becomes
Yes.
part of your identity as a person, right? You
Oh,
feel like a failure if you're not achieving at that very high level. And the interesting part is, in my
oh.
opinion, I think high achieving people, the level at which they function,
Yeah.
even on an average day, is still higher than the average person. So I often will say to them, do you know how hard you're pushing yourself? Because if you gave life 80% of effort, that would
Oh,
still be higher than most people's 100%, in my opinion. And they're like,
oh.
really? But when your identity is about everything has to be A plus, everything has to be done to the
Yeah.
best of my ability.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some perfectionism going in there. There's a
Yeah.
difference between excellence and perfectionism. Excellence
Mm-hmm.
is I'm doing my best.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectionism is no mistakes ever.
Please pause
Get
there
it right
for
the
a
first
moment.
time.
Ibinye, please pause there for a moment. Let's take that in.
Mm,
Please repeat that again.
yes, yes.
Thanks.
So excellence
Uh-huh.
is doing things to the best of your ability,
Uh-huh.
right? It does not have to be perfect.
Uh-huh.
Perfectionism is no mistakes.
Oh,
Excellence is healthy. It means
yeah.
I'm doing my best, right?
Uh,
So some days my best could be a C plus because that's
uh-huh.
what's going on. Let's say I wasn't feeling well. I went and I wrote an exam. I got a C plus. That was
Yeah.
my best. I had a headache. It is what it is. That's
Uh-huh.
excellence. Perfectionism means even though my head is throbbing, I
Oh,
will still push myself to get that A plus. And if I don't get that A plus, I
oh,
feel so horrible about myself as a person. I
oh,
don't even give myself a pass because I was sick.
yeah. Yeah.
No excuses whatsoever.
Oh, that is so, so big. I wish we had time to unpack that.
Mm,
Where high functioning people tend to have this standard in their head.
yes.
I like to
And it's in
think
their head.
it's in their head. I like to think that I'm a high functioning person in recovery. It's why I'm laughing
Yeah.
a lot. I remember telling one of my previous managers that I do my work with integrity, not just about the expectations we have culturally, organizationally. I have my own personal expectations that I need to meet.
Wow.
And my manager looked at me and went like, I'm, gl- I'm glad you're on the team.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm just imagining this leads me to the next question. Do high functioning people attract certain kind of people relationally?
I
Do
would
you?
imagine so. I would
Mm,
imagine that a lot of times you meet a high functioning person who's
mm,
attracted to someone who's maybe not as high functioning,
mm,
because high functioning people tend to be fixers. Don't
mm,
worry, I'm going to
mm,
fix it for you.
mm,
Don't worry, I'll pick up the slack. Don't
mm,
worry, I'll complement all the things that you don't have.
mm.
Um, of course, you have cases where two high functioning people, get married, but you
Ah,
have to have some very strong boundaries. And it
mm,
happens. There's some marriages where the expectation is, look, I'm working on my job 24 hours. Do not
mm,
expect me to put much effort into this marriage. And as long as both of them are on the same page with that,
mm.
funny enough, it actually works. Two workaholics coming together. Funny enough,
Oh
it works.
dear. Oh
Hmm.
dear. Mm. We'll talk about that in another episode. If we start that now, it's going to take the whole lot of more
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Um, Thanks for sharing that. In when you talked about striving for perfection as a high
Hmm.
functioning person, how does it tie up to anxiety and expecting the worst, always on the alert for what might go wrong, hypervigilance? And how
Mm.
can a high functioning person begin a journey of recovery?
Okay.
What steps can they take?
So, if we are to rewind back, a lot
Yeah.
of times high functioning people are rewarded as children. We see that a lot in
Mm,
certain cultures where, when, say, an auntie comes to visit you,
mm-hmm.
and the first, she doesn't even really ask how you're doing. She just asks, how are you doing in school? And
Mm,
then you go, I got 5 A's. And she says, oh, what a wonderful girl, right?
mm,
Or let's say you say, I got 4 A's and 1 B. Rather than
mm-hmm.
celebrating everything, they say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, how can you get a B? You need to strive for an A, right? So you get the impression in your head, I am
Yeah.
only worthy if I'm getting A's, right?
Mm,
When you graduate from university,
mm,
they ask, so what are you doing? Certain professions, they say, oh,
mm,
lovely. Another
uh-huh.
profession, they'll say, oh, no, you could do
Mm.
better. So you learn quickly. My value lies in the number of things I can check off the list. And
Oh,
these are things that breed perfectionism. Again, I don't think
yeah,
parents or aunties and uncles are trying to breed perfectionism, but it's
yeah,
the little comments. Even I remember when I was going to school in Nigeria in my secondary school, we had
yeah,
inspection. I don't know if it's every week or every day, I don't remember. Basically,
yeah.
you line up during the assembly. They checked, oh my gosh, they checked everything. They checked our hair,
Uh-huh,
they checked our fingernails,
uh-huh,
they checked our uniforms
yeah,
down to our socks, to our
uh-huh,
shoes, right?
uh-huh,
So, again, there's nothing wrong with being neat and tidy, but the
yeah,
expectation was you
yeah.
should always be 100% put together. It's those
Ah,
little subtle
I
communications that
know.
make us think, oh, there's no room for failure. And of course, if there's anything that's out of place, you immediately get a punishment.
Oh, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
sad. Because
Yeah.
I remember that puts, it has now given birth to a lot of um, perfectionism in appearance. Like, if my
Yes.
hair is not this way and
Yes.
I'm not wearing clothes like this,
Yes.
I'm not going to be validated. I wouldn't receive
Correct.
compliments when I go out
Yes.
for events, or
Yes.
some parents might ask their kids, particularly daughters, did you receive compliments for your new hair today at school?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
girl begins to develop that mindset that my worth is in my appearance, and when it's
Correct.
looking any less, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to be validated. And
Right.
that is so much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
brings so
Mm-hmm.
much
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah. And we see parents only praising children when the work is done perfectly. Even something as simple as go and sweep the
Mm,
floor, or go cook soup,
mhm,
or whatever it is the domestic task is.
mm,
Parents seldom praise children for effort, right? Which is
mm,
excellence. They
mhm,
usually only praise perfection.
mm.
So what does that do to a child? You're at home, you're only ever praised when things are perfect. You go to
Yeah,
school, you're only ever praised when things are perfect. You're really only ever praised if you get all A's. If you have a few
yeah,
B's,
yeah.
then sorry, it's not good enough. So everywhere you go, and then of course, imagine in the workplace, you imagine this is
Uh-huh,
probably what's expected of me.
uh-huh.
And as you keep doing these things, it quickly becomes a part of your personality. So I'm not really sure if we're born highly functioning or if
Uh-uh.
it's a nurture thing,
Uh,
but I don't know. I know the culture definitely plays a big role.
Absolutely. By culture, again, I'm including the home environment as well. And
Yes,
imagine that a child is raised in a home environment where probably, I think women particularly seem to be very
yes,
prone to high functioning. And
correct.
when the mom is a high functioning person and the girl is watching that and observing that from the mom, often that becomes a model, and
Yes.
then they go on and pass that on to their own children and the next generation and the next generation, and that just
Hmm.
keeps going on. So
Think about it. Let me just interject really quickly.
yeah.
If you think about it, a lot of women in certain cultures are pretty much superheroes. So they're
Mm,
having a career where
mm,
they're working really hard and trying to be perfect.
mm,
Their appearance pretty much looks perfect.
mhm,
Then they come home and they are these domestic goddesses. They have to be able to cook
mm,
like queens. They have to
mm,
be able to clean like I don't know what. So they are working so hard. And I don't even know if these women sleep. I'm not sure when these women are sleeping or if they sleep. So as a girl watching that,
yeah.
that is your role model, right?
Mm,
Somebody who barely sleeps, who is stressed. I mean, you can tell they're stressed out. I mean, you can just
yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
But that's the norm. So you think this is what is expected of me. Anything short of that, a
Yeah.
lot of times you'll be called lazy.
Yeah. Oh, this is so much. Hi, listeners. I guess the point we're trying to make today is that it's okay for your plate not to be full all the time.
Yes.
It's okay to not have what to do list every day of
Yes.
the week. It's
Hmm.
okay to put your legs on the couch and just
Yes.
watch a movie if you like. It's okay to unlearn some of the ways that we were parented in a high functioning space and to reparent ourselves and say, hey, I have worked hard enough. It's okay to feel rewarded, to go to a spa, fix your nails, fix your hair,
Yes. Yes.
get a pedicure, get a manicure, and go for swimming and do relaxing
Yes.
things and be intentional about it as well and schedule that into one's, um, you know, routine and to say
Yes.
that I need downtimes. Downtimes are really important.
I
And
agree.
yeah, as we bring this to a conclusion, Ibinye, I just wanted to recommend more strategies that, can help highly functioning people go into
Okay.
recovery. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So it is important to begin to give yourself a pat on the back for just everyday mundane activities. A lot of times,
Mm,
high functioning women almost punish themselves. We say
mm,
such negative things about ourselves. We think we are lazy, we are stupid, all these things.
mm,
So, remembering that excellence versus perfection as you're doing your task, ask yourself,
mm,
am I aiming for perfection or am I aiming for excellence? I
mm,
often will tell my clients who are high functioning, I want you to learn how to function at 80%, not 100%. And they usually gasp. They're like, what?
mm,
That
mm,
sounds awful. I said, when you're making your
Mm.
bed, make it at 80% your normal level.
All
Put a
right.
little bit of wrinkles in the bed, and they're like, oh gosh, how horrible. I said, yes, when you're writing your paper, instead of
Mm.
reviewing it 20 times, only review it
Oh.
18 times, 80%.
Oh.
That's what I need you to function at.
Yeah.
Find somebody to hold you accountable as well. Find a
Yeah.
non high functioning friend who can validate you, who can check in on you, who, when you're moving too fast, because high functioning people don't always notice how fast they move. When you're moving
Mm-mm.
too fast, they slow you down. They say, wait. You've been sitting at that computer for 6 hours. Come, let's go
Oh.
out, let's relax. It's very,
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
Those are some things. And with the to-do list that you mentioned, I often say, don't put more than 3 things a day on your list. You don't have to have 10
Wow.
things. 3 things and we're
Hmm.
done. That's it.
Wow. I need
Hmm.
to start doing that now.
3 things, and then learning to outsource if you can, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be the one completing every single task at work or
Mm.
every single task in the household. You need to
Mm.
train your family, your friend, your work colleagues
Mm.
to hear you asking for help. It is not bad to
Mm.
need help because you're human, right? So
Yeah.
asking for help, outsourcing tasks,
Yeah.
learning to just sit back, schedule a day a week or a day a month where you just relax. Like you said, go to the spa, get your nails done, go for
Yeah.
swimming, go for a walk, read a book, take a nap, do
Yeah.
something else that is not productivity, quote unquote, productivity focused.
Yeah. And not feel like you're wasting time.
Yes, yes, yes,
Because that's another thing, feel guilty about downtime.
yes.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much today, B. That has been so much we unpacked in such a short time, but we have to go. But it's such a lovely conversation to have about
Yes.
high functioning. I am not sure if we're concluding this topic. We might be bringing more episodes to it. Ibinye Osibodu Onyali is a licensed marriage and family therapist, as well as a coach for highly sensitive women. As a coach, she helps women manage big emotions, stand up by themselves by setting healthy boundaries, and finally stop people pleasing. And as a therapist, her practice focuses on anxiety, insomnia, and couples relationships. She works with high achieving women who struggle with anxiety and the need to take care of everyone else. She helps couples learn how to communicate better, create a stronger connection, and resolve conflicts faster. Finally, she helps people with insomnia quickly fall asleep and stay asleep without pills or drastically changing their lifestyle. I think that is really holistic. We need to unpack this high functioning thing, particularly
Yes.
culturally. I believe a lot of people will find the strategies really helpful. So, listeners, take your time, listen again to this podcast, and most importantly, utilize the information shared. And I hope to speak with you or see you again or listen to you next in the next show. Thank you. Bye for now.